దేవుడి పాలన మీరు చేశారు కదా.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, are we ready to start, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam, welcome to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are very fortunate to have the association of His Grace Shivatma Govinda Prabhu, who will be sharing the nectar from Srimad Bhagavatam, canto number 4, chapter number 25 and sloka number 55, along with Prabhuji's wisdom and realization. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Over to you, Prabhu.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirat Nashtapraya Shubhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. Welcome to today's discussion from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, Text 55. Sattvam vichakshya mrugachetitam atmanontas chittam niyacha hridi karna dunim chachitte jahi anganasramam asattam yuta gatam prinihi hamsa sharanam virama kamena. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My dear King, just try to understand the allegorical position of the deed. Be fully conscious of yourself and give up the pleasure of hearing about promotion to heavenly planets by fruitive activity. Give up household life, which is full of sex, as well as stories about such things, and take shelter of the Supreme Person of Godhead to the mercy of the liberated souls. In this way, please give up your attraction for material existence. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In one of his songs, Srila Narottam Das Thakur writes, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Kevala Vishera Bhanda, Amrita Baliya Yeba Kaya, Nana Yoni Sada Fire Kadaraya Bhakshana Kare, Tara Janma Adahapate Yaya. Fruitive activities and mental speculation are simply cups of poison. Whoever drinks of them, thinking them to be nectar, must struggle very hard, life after life, in different types of bodies. Such a person eats all kinds of nonsense and becomes condemned by his activities of so-called sense enjoyment. People are generally enamored of the fruitive results of worldly activity and mental speculation. They generally desire to be promoted to heavenly planets, merge into the existence of Brahman, or keep themselves in the midst of family life, enchanted by the pleasures of the tongue and genitals. The great sage Narada clearly instructs King Bharishman not to remain his entire life in the Grihastha-ashrama. Being in the Grihastha-ashrama means being under the control of one's wife, one has to give up all this and put himself into the ashrama of the Paramahamsa, that is, put himself under the control of the spiritual master. The Paramahamsa ashrama is the ashrama of the Supreme Person of Godhead, under whom the spiritual master has taken shelter. The symptoms of the bona fide spiritual master are stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Tasmad gurum prapadyeta jijnasu shreya uttamam sabde parecha nisnantam brahmani upasmasrayam. Any person who is seriously desirous of achieving real happiness must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of spiritual master is that he must have realized the conclusion of the scriptures by deliberation and arguments, and thus be able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken complete shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, are to be understood as bona fide spiritual masters. A Paramahamsa is one who has taken shelter of the Parabrahman, the Supreme Person of Godhead. If one takes shelter of the Paramahamsa spiritual master gradually through training and instruction, he will become detached from worldly life and ultimately return home back to Godhead. The particular mention of Anganashramam Asattama Yuta Gatham is very interesting. The whole world is in the clutches of Maya, being controlled by women. Not only is one controlled by the woman who is one's wife, but one is also controlled by so many sexual creatures. This is the cause of one's being entangled in the material world. One cannot give up this abominable association through one's own effort. But if one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master who is a Paramahamsa, he will gradually be elevated to the platform of spiritual life. The pleasing words of the Vedas that inspire one to elevate oneself to the heavenly planets or merge into the existence of the Supreme, or for the less intelligent who are described in Bhagavata as Maya Pritha Jnana, though those whose knowledge is taken away by the illusory energy. Real knowledge means understanding the miserable condition of material life. One should take shelter of a bona fide, liberated soul, the spiritual master, and gradually elevate himself to the spiritual platform and thus become detached from the material world. According to Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura, Hamsa Sharanam refers to the cottage in which saintly persons live. Generally, a saintly person lives in a remote place in the forest or in a humble cottage. However, we should note that times have changed. It may be beneficial for a saintly person's own interest to go to the forest and live in the cottage. But if one becomes a preacher, especially in Western countries, he has to invite many classes of men who are accustomed to living in comfortable apartments. Therefore, in this age, a saintly person has to make proper arrangements to receive people and attract them to the message of Krishna consciousness. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura, perhaps for the first time, introduced motor cars, palatial buildings for the residence of saintly persons, just to attract the general public in big cities. The main fact is that one has to associate with the saintly person. In this age, people are not going to search out a saint in the forest. So the saints and the sages have to come out to the big cities to make arrangements to receive the people in general who are accustomed to the modern amenities of material life. Gradually, such persons will learn that palatial buildings or comfortable apartments are not at all necessary. The real necessity is to become free from material bondage in whatever way possible. According to the orders of Srila Rupa Goswami, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatharham Upayanjata. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, part 1, second chapter, 255th verse. One should not be attached to metal opulence, but metal opulence may be accepted in Krishna consciousness movement to facilitate the propagation of the movement. In other words, metal opulence may be accepted as Yukta Vairagya, that is for renunciation. Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharya Vishesha Can I get the confirmation? All of you are hearing my voice?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. In the last few chapters, we have seen how Narada Muni is trying to convince King Barishad for his spiritual benefit, because he was very much busy in fruitive activities, karma khanda, performing pious karma, so that he can elevate himself to the heavenly planets, that is Swargaloka. That is the goal of life of the king Barishad, that he should go to heavenly planets, he should get to stay in heavenly planets, he should have residence in heavenly planets, and for that he should work hard. What is that hard work? Performing yajna, performing fire sacrifice, so that he acquires lots of pious credits, and with that pious credits he get to stay in heavenly planets. Just like somebody in the city may work very hard to acquire money, save money, so that he can purchase a posh bungalow in an opulent locality. Same way, king also wants to have a resident in an opulent heavenly planet. Or maybe somebody in a place like India, usually Indians wish to have a resident in America. So for that thing, what is that called, as a green card or a green passport or something. So they will work hard so much and they will get it, and they will have a very opulent life in America, or in dreams, hopefully. So all these are all fruitive mentalities. So Narada Muni is guiding Barishad, King Barishad, who is performing so much karma kanda and killing animals in the sacrifice, just to go to heavenly planets. And but why does he wants to go to heavenly planet? Actually, to be first class enjoyment, he needs to go to heavenly planets, because this, for example, this enjoyment of a pig, when we see, but it will be enjoying in the gutter, and that is a heaven for the pig. But for the humans, when we compare to that, we are all eating paneer sabji, and what is that pig is doing? It is in the gutter. So my life is more sophisticated, more improved. So when we compare ourselves to Indra's life in the heavenly planets, it's like a pig life. So Indra has much better sense enjoyment. So King Barishad wanted that kind of life. He wanted to go to heavenly planets, reside there. so that he can have first class sense enjoyment. There you can drink unlimited somarasa, no intoxicant still, but it is not sinful also. So it is legal there. It doesn't damage your health also. So what kind of life it is there? You don't have it's there totally unlimited enjoyment with apsaras, dancing, so many things. So Narada Muni comes and explains to him through the story of Puranjana that this is not a good thing to do. But king is so dull-headed, he doesn't understand the story, which is his own story. So Narada Muni has to explain him another story again, that but still he doesn't understand. Even if he understood, he's not ready for accepting it or renouncing the household life. Sometimes we come across many people like this, like who repeatedly hears the Srimad Bhagavatam. They are very much interested in hearing, and they become very much attracted, and they clap also, and they are very respectful for a speaker, but they're not ready to accept or take the steps what they heard in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that is for surrendering or commitment for the japa or renouncement of sense gratification. So they like to hear, they understand, but they are hesitant to take step further for putting it into the action. So hesitant. In Kali Yuga, many people are like this. Example, one of our Bhakti member, one of the team member, he is working in a company and he does very sincerely work, and he's also sincere devotee. I asked him to make a PPT on book distribution. So he is very good at that work actually. So I requested him, and he did a wonderful PPT. Many points from the Shastras, nice quotes, and many practical tips was mentioned in that. And he took almost 2 nights. He sat himself and did everything. And he presented to me, and I requested him, why don't we use this for yourself and do the book distribution? So he said, no, it is not for me. So people are interested in giving the classes, hearing the class, interested in PowerPoint presentation, but not ready to take action, not ready to perform it, or not ready to sometimes like Mangalarti. Preaching Mangalarti is there, but he himself will not go for Mangalarti. So this is not the kind of devotee Prabhupada was looking at it anyway. So these are all lip services. So King Barishar understood what Narada Muni is describing, but he's not ready to take final commitment. He's not ready to renounce and perform devotional service. He's still thinking about his family life and kingdom and his house, and he's telling, let my children who are in the forest, who gone for the vacation or some austerities, let them come back. I will hand over the kingdom to them, and let me see their marriages, and then I will renounce. So Narada Muni gives another story explaining there is a deer with a female deer, and both are eating grass, beautiful green grass in a flowered garden, and there are lots of flowers and lots of bees and lots of humming, sweetly humming sound. And here deer is nicely enjoying the association. Nice tasty flower, sweet grass, nice humming sound, but also there is a tiger to it's almost like waiting to pounce on him and eat the deer. And apart from that, and a hunter also one side with a bow and arrow ready to shot at him, but the deer is eating grass with female association. So Narada Muni said, don't be like a deer. You are in your family life, enjoying the sweet talk of wife and child, enjoying sense objects, but the time was going to kill you. That's the nature of the time, to kill everybody, and there is death behind you. Actually, everyone knows someday they're going to die. Everybody knows his great grandfather has passed away, grandfather has died, and father is dead, and I'm going to live alive for some more time, lifetime, lifelong. So no, nobody is going to live eternally, for that matter, uh, in this material world. If something is surely going to happen in future, and if we know about it, shouldn't we prepare for that? That's what Narada Muni is telling to the king, to be ready for preparing for his spiritual life. We should also prepare for it. So surely Narada Muni is giving that knowledge to him to come out from this, because this hellish world, we don't know, like in the future life, whether it will be a cat life or a donkey life or whatever it is, or a bird life or a tree or something about it. But how long everybody can continue this cycle of birth and death? So now at least we should take up and do something about it. So deer is busy eating grass and not aware of the tiger, and the hunter not aware of the future death and entanglement of the hellish planets. So in other words, a householder should know that he should not be a householder for his entire life. In a slaughterhouse, there are goats in a queue. Each and every goat is being slaughtered, and the next goat which is supposed to be slaughtered, it will be watching it, that his the previous goat friend is being slaughtered, but still it will be eating the grass, not worried about its next is going to be killed. So is it not a foolishness? Is that as an intelligence? So actually, both the stories of Puranjana and the story of deer are described to the king who is performing sacrifices for material temporary body, by showing the temporary nature of the body. For example, in the Puranjana story, that is changing one body to another body. So again, it's a temporary. And in the case of deer, we can see that in any body, a threat of death is present. So whether it is a body or changing the body, it's all the same, temporary. Both the experiences are in illusion, because whoever enjoys, at the same time, he should know that he's going to die. So idea is that one becomes aware of broader situation. Narada Muni describes these stories for that reason to the king. Here Narada Muni is warning and asking him to come out of household life, giving the example of the explaining about the attachment to the household life, which are actually very danger. That's what in the purport, that's what the Shastra also says. That's what we experience. So how does one counteract this danger? For that, Narada Muni says to give up that household life and detach from the objects of enjoyments of this material world. This kind of instruction is for usually for the not matured enough people, because people in general are advised to take household life, and that's what most will take, instead of just renouncing soon after taking birth or taking up the brahmacharya life. Most of them get married actually. So generally, renunciation is not encouraged for the mass of people. Only after experiencing for a few years, generally after the age of 50, when children are grown up, and then one recommends to take up the vanaprastha, and that's available for kshatriyas, brahmanas, vaishyas, and shudras. So it's for all, everybody. It's for even for the upper classes also, like kings. So, but as far as sannyas, only brahmanas are qualified to that system. So generally, renunciation is recommended to general mass of people under general condition, that is after some certain age, that is 50 years, after experiencing their household life for a few years. So here, king is already having the experience of household life for many, many years. He's already passed through that. So king is answerable for that. Narada Muni is encouraging him to give up that position. We have seen this example set by many kings. It is not just he is suggesting for this particular king. In the previously and later also, many kings in the history also we have seen great kings. After ruling for thousands of years, they go to the forest and practice austerities. So this was a common conduct for even kings. Even we can see in the present age, a few of the, not few, at least one person I can say that in the future is going to be going to the forest, Himalayas, and the Himalayans people are coming and ruling our world. So even modern days also this practice is going on. So a king, after having gone through the experience of household life, he should take up vanaprastha. We can see the example of Maharaja Bharata, how he was living in the royal life, but he left everything, leaving everything, the kingdom and everything, and he goes and lives in the forest, in some hills. So at a certain stage of life, it is proper for the king also to give up and begin his life in spiritual activities and do something else for the spiritual benefits. So there are two things here we should make a note of that one should give up the attachment of the family and comforts of the living and enjoying the household life and going to the forest, one thing. Not just that, engaging himself in spiritual activities, both is to be important. Just renunciation is not enough. One has to actually engage himself. So what is that engagement one should have? The engagement is to worship the Supreme Person of Godhead. That is the ideal environment. So ideal King Bharata renounced his kingdom, went to the forest. And of course, he had some rules and regulations, he was following it. But his main activity was to worship the Supreme Lord, meditating on Lord Narayana. He goes through that practice and he actually experiences a realization of the Vishnu. So he reached the very high stage by developing in that process, the king. So there are two things. One should do renunciation and practice of bhakti. Simply to renounce is not enough. He has to engage in bhakti or in a devotional life. That is engagement. So renouncement and engagement. Technically, in Karmakanda Varnashrama, a Vanaprastha stage, it is just a simply renouncement. So it's a practice stage of detachment to live outside the household life. Later, one more stage is a sannyas. There he concentrates upon Supreme Lord. These are the two old stages or process. One stage is for the austerity part, which is Vanaprastha, and next stage is that is for the worship of the Supreme Lord, that is in the sannyasa stage. But anyway, in Vaishnava Varnashrama, of course, it just concentrates not so much merely on renunciation or doing austerities. They simultaneously do the spiritual activities also in Vanaprastha stage also. So the emphasis is on detachment from the household life in Vanaprastha stage, because a person very attached earlier in the previous time, therefore he concentrates on the detachment now, living alone away from the family, performing austerities also, cooking for himself, simple clothing, and so many other small things. So this is the advice Narada Muni going to give or giving to the king. Renounce all of this, give up household life at proper time and take shelter of the Supreme Lord. So actually, he is contrasting points. One is giving up the ashram and shelter of the woman. That is in the shloka, it is there. Jahi Angana Ashramam. So give up that. And one more extreme is accept Hamsa Sharanam, shelter of the swan. Hamsa. So Hamsa actually represents a person, that is like spiritual master, who is renounced, and he's only interested in spiritual activities, spiritual life. So he's Hamsa, Paramahamsa. So what is the contrast here? One side, give up the shelter of enjoyment and go to the forest, and other side, extreme is that taking shelter of the renunciation. Of course, in Hamsa life, one concentrates on the Supreme Lord and worship of the Supreme Lord. Hamsa is, when I'm here reading this Hamsa name, it reminds me about the Supreme Lord, Hamsa. Hamsa means swan. In Satyuga, it happened like Vishnu descended in the form of Hamsa. And when Lord Brahma was discussing with his sons, Sanak Kumaras, like Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumaras. So they were discussing about the salvation of human beings and so many things. At that time, Lord Vishnu appeared in the form of Mahahamsa, and he clarified the doubts of the sages. So after this, everybody worshipped the Hamsa. So this is one of the avatara mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I have about Hamsa, I have one more point also, where we can see Lord Brahma's Vahan also is a swan, Hamsa. So there is a Hamsa Vahan, and this Hamsa is available in today's day also. Today also we can see the Lord Brahma's Hamsa. It is placed in Mayapur, in a place in one of the island. Today also the Hamsa Vahan is there. What happened previously? There was a discussion about Srimad Bhagavatam and Gaura Katha by Lord Shiva and Parvati in one of the Srimantadip in Mayapur, near Mayapur. So when this discussion was going on, the Bhagavatam was discussed, and also there is a place in Mayapur called as Naimisharanya Ashram also there. So there Bhagavatam was being discussed. Many sages were discussing same repeatedly. The histories repeats. So at that time, Brahma was missed out. He was in Brahmaloka, and he also wanted to attend this discussion. So he took the Hamsa, and he came to this place, and under that Hamsa, on which Lord Brahma came, he came. I think Lord Shiva came actually, not Brahma. He borrowed actually. Sorry for my wrong lines. Actually, Lord Shiva wanted to attend the Bhagavatam class, and he tried to reach out the place Naimisharanya by his Nandi, the Vahan of Lord Shiva. But Nandi was moving very slowly. It is not a fast moving vehicle. So he was getting frustrated. He was moving very slowly, and he was totally enthusiastic that he wants to attend quickly. And how when we get late for the Bhagavatam class, we run and just throw our slippers and go to the Bhagavatam class and sit there. So in the same way, even Lord Shiva also wanted to attend that. It was in that mode. So on the way, he borrowed the Brahma's swan, that is Hamsa, and he came on that. And that's what the Hamsa is available in today also. It's called as Hamsa Vahan. So whenever you go to Mayapur, you can have a look at it and darshan have. So Hamsa Sharanam. So instead of taking shelter of the enjoyment of material world, one can take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Then one finds the satisfaction. And there is one more word also in this shloka, virama kramena. So virama kramena, gradually becomes detached. So Narada Muni here is not expecting the king to give up suddenly. Anybody can, is not possible like that. So coming out of the attachments gradually is recommended. So he practices this surrendering to the Supreme Lord gradually. Then he detaches from the material life and objects of attachment in the material world. So here in the there is a setup actually in Varnashrama, the arrangement for the detachment. That is what the setup is made in the Varnashrama gradually. So going through the stages of Vanaprastha for the king. And in this way, one can become successful in life. So here we can see one danger is there. So if one does not get a good instructions from a proper person, one remains attached in the household life and he never renounces. So most people don't renounce the household life at all. So another person should come and guide him, then only it happens. So Vanaprastha is a very rare actually. You don't see many of the Vanaprasthas actually. So danger is one becomes attached to the household life, but somebody has to come and guide them then to give up, and otherwise they will never renounce. So danger is one becomes detached and one doesn't get the chance to renounce actually. So somebody wants to be detached, want to be Vanaprastha, but the chance of renouncement will not come unless he has a guidance of the renunciant or the knowledge of the renunciant, then only it happens. So this is a danger actually. So and in many communities also we can see this renouncement is been what I can say encouraged, like in some of the communities, even at the young age we have seen the news that many kids, 11 years, 15 years kids are becoming sannyas actually. So this renouncement is in many communities also been encouraged actually. In today's case, we see that Narada Muni is doing his part. That is what the guidance is giving to him. So by the mercy of the devotees, one important decision of life of the king, living household life and practicing spiritual life with wholeheartedly, is being present here actually in today's thing. So Narada Muni is taking that responsibility. A few examples also we can discuss how Vidura was advising his brother Dhritarashtra. He was telling, he speaks so many things actually, but main thing he was telling is to give up the household life, give up the moha of the children, family, and go to the pilgrimage, practice devotional life. He is recommending to go Dhritarashtra to Badrikashram somewhere, so he can practice his devotional life there. So this is how Vidura was there in taking place. And even in some young life of Dhruva Maharaj, Narada advises. So before what Dhruva wanted and after advise what he wanted, we have seen the change. So, and also in the case of Valmiki, again Narada comes and how he was, and after his guidance and guidance, and he becomes a devotee, and how next visit of Narada, how Valmiki was behaving, that also we have seen. And we have one more example. Parikshit Maharaj, when he comes to know about his end of life in few days, he could have He could have taken up anyway. Another 1 week is there for his life. He could have lead his life happily in the spiritual world. Some not spiritual world, like in a heavenly, royal, rich family traditions, and he could have enjoyed it all the 7 days till his death. But what he did, he renounced. He given up immediately, instantly, and he went for the guidance from Shukadev Goswami. So when we know we are having going to die, and why not we plan for that, prepare for that. So, and one of the very interesting incident, like Kapila Deva's parents, Kapila Muni's parents, like Kardama Muni, how immediately he got the son Kapila Deva, he immediately left the family, Devahoti, Mother Devahoti, and he said, now your son will take care of you. So he renounced. So renunciation is very much important. So even in Srila Prabhupada in the purport mentions that actually in modern days such system is not very practical. In one sense it is practical, because he recommends for that, if the detachment at the same time terms of preaching is not so practical. If everybody goes to the forest, who is going to preach? If one doesn't want to preach, it's, of course it's okay. But for those who want to preach, active preachers, for those, that point is important. So he makes a slight arrangement in the Varnashrama, that people go into the forest. Instead of that, the saints and the brahmacharis can come to the cities, and there is an innovative way of presenting it. So instead of following the rules very strictly, he allows some laxity in the principles in order for preaching, so they can come to the cities and get into the preaching activities for others' benefit. So there is some aspect of Varnashrama implemented by him. There we see the brahmacharyas, vanaprasthas and sannyasas are not the same exact of Varnashrama system. All these ashramas are isolated, actually supposed to be. But if that is the case, we are not going to see any of them, because we are living in the cities. Brahmacharis will not be visible in many cities, but some were far away, isolated, if that is being strictly followed. And vanaprasthas, sannyasis also are isolated, so we are not going to see them. But preaching is done in a modern world by these men. Actually, we are seeing that. So isolation of these men are not practical. Therefore, consequences of ashramas also changes, but basic principle is not lost. Because brahmacharis being the students, basically the student life, it will be there. Will have studies of Vedas. For vanaprasthas, it is a detachment. Again, it is practice along with the preaching. Situation is that one has to be very careful not to use all the things which are available in this world. Preaching is allowed in cities, taking some benefits of the cities, but one should not use all those benefits and material things for one's own enjoyment. So in the shloka it is mentioned, yukta vairagyam. In the purport, Prabhupada mentions about it, yukta vairagyam. But use things for the Lord. Instead of renouncing everything, that can be used in the service of the Lord. So in this, one becomes detached, because he's not using for himself, and it is also, it's realistic, because I wanted to use, but I'm using it for the Lord. So one is out of the danger of becoming materialistic. So this is an arrangement. So because of this arrangement, we can have safety zone for preaching also. So utilizing everything in the service of the Lord. So one is out of the danger, because there is an engagement of service to the Lord, utilizing everything in the service of the Lord. It helps in counteracting the danger. It prevents attachment to the material things also. Actually, this topic is actually wide. It's practical also. When we put ourselves in the position of the king and spiritual master as Narada Muni giving the advices, like Prabhupada is advising us, giving the guidance. So lot of things are there because the practical things actually we are experiencing all these things. So it's a very important topic, but we have a limited time. As far as quickly, as far even I skipped the beginning prayers also. Please forgive me for that. So maybe that can be continued by other devotees in the future days. So that's it for today's my points. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your patientful time. If anybody wants to add up to this topic related to this verse, maybe I can take from you. Kindly help me, bless me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, you said the Lord comes down as Paramahamsa, no, Prabhu, when Brahma is teaching Hamsa, when he's teaching his sons.
Yes, they were discussing about the salvation of the human beings and so many things. So they had a lot of doubts. That time, the Lord comes as Hamsa.
Is that the Hamsa Gita there? No.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Shivatma Prabhu. Thank you for wonderful class. So today, especially, you emphasized the importance of this message is, I think, for Grahasthas. I think we have to keep reading it again and again. The message is so heavy, and Prabhupada says that we should not be overly attached to the family, but it doesn't mean that we have to give up the responsibilities. We have to fulfill the responsibilities and gradually start the practice of detachment.
Actually, important of the Vanashrama is actually, what happens in the modern life. Nobody is trained in the brahmacharya life. Most of us without brahmacharya life is gone to the grihastha life. So when the point of vanaprastha comes, we'll get shocked. If the brahmacharya training is done very nicely, probably after the grihastha life is done, then vanaprastha wouldn't have been much difficulty actually. And of course, very strong people and many are there. They become renounced, definitely, but not for everybody. So it requires a lot of guidance actually.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Torachandra Gopinath Shastri. Dandavat Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, for various reasons, the entanglement we set our own living in the city. Very difficult to think of even.
Please forgive me, Prabhu. I'm not able to hear your voice. Not clear.
Prabhu, is it better now?
Yes, Prabhu. Loud and clear.
Prabhu, for various reasons, our own entanglement we set. Let it be family commitment or financial commitment in the modern city to bring up kids, right? It's very difficult to think about vanaprastha if at 51 or 50, whatever age the Shastra prescribed. It could be self-inflated or whatever it is, but the modern life doesn't allow us to come out of it at least another for, say, retirement life. So how do we come out of this, Prabhu? Is this really practical to follow vanaprastha or this varnashrama system in this modern age? How one should plan? Because it's very difficult when I think about myself, dedicating. So Can you
I'm
please
not
enlighten?
so much matured enough to let you know about this, but theoretically, it is possible. That's what I was mentioning, because we are not trained in proper brahmacharya life. Grihastha was given directly. I'm telling about the Grihastha life. Grihasthas who already come. In the previous years, actually, there was a practice of Gurukul and so many things, but now it is not there actually. So when Vanaprastha comes up, then we'll get shocked. Oh my God, I'm going to leave this and I have to leave alone. So the dependency of, as we are seeing the case of king, same thing, same situation we are going to face. We are all going to face actually. So what this thing, Prabhupada, as that's I mentioned this point also, like he has made a slight changes. We need not to go to the forest, not necessary. In the city itself, we can practice the Vanaprastha as well as the principle of Vanaprastha need not to be disturbed. So it is definitely possible, and many of our god brothers and senior god brothers, they have shown us this. It is going to be, I mean, it is possible. It is, nothing is impossible actually. Uh, Whenever the Varnashrama is been discussed or given to us, we have to note that this is given for the Kali Yuga people only. This is for the current age. And without practicality, that wouldn't have been recommended, because our Kali Yuga has been so much distractive in our lives. It is finding it difficult, but it is a very simple way. And Prabhupada, slight changes he has made. No need to go to the forest. So it's very simple. Living in the cities also we can do. Maybe slightly away from the family life, definitely. Without detachment, there is no further growth actually. We'll get stuck in this cycle. Maybe one generation has to take this austerity of changing over from Grihastha life to the Vanaprastha life. Then the next generation, they'll follow that. But there was a large gap in between in our lives from past, maybe I can say some 4 or 5 generations. It was not like this. But earlier to that, even I don't want to mention my example, but my grandfather, he had many children, many male children. When they grown up and they started their businesses, he never was serious in his business. He was just coming to the office. He was just sitting. Even my father was telling the issues of the business, he never used to hear. He says, it is your headache. You handle it. And he was coming, just sitting for a moment, and he just leaves. And he goes for the temple visits. And in the area where he was living, surrounding was full of temples. He used to visit all the temples morning and evening. That's his walk. That is his keeping his healthy life. So maybe in the last 2-3 generations, it has been changed. That's what I am seeing. Otherwise, earlier they used to go for the pilgrimages after marriages of their daughters and children, everybody. They used to go for. But now what happened? Earning, we are in a rat race. He is earning, I should also earn. He has a building, even I should also have a building. And comparison, and we are finding ourselves difficulty in meeting those needs, and try to work harder to achieve those needs, unachievable needs, and we get stuck up. One very nice example was like
ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ, ಅದು ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಇದು
he just left.
ಕಾಯಿಲ್ ಕಾಣುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಹೋಗುತ್ತದು ಕಾಯಿಲ್ ಬಿಸಿ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು.
Immediately after he got the son and he is matured enough, he just left. Kapil Muni was not a elder person. He was very child, small boy, but he left him, left the family. He made a set up everything. I think it's possible, bro. Maybe we should take the guidance from the senior Vanaprasthas.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare
Oh,
Krishna.
can I add something here? Is it okay?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Rukmini Rangakshana Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, you can ask the question, Prabhuji.
No, I thought I can share some of my inputs. Is that okay?
Yeah, please. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Please.
See, what I see, the issue of vanaprastha for the middle-aged people is all what time we entered into KC. It depends on that. See, there are few fortunate people who came into KC maybe at the age of 20 plus or 25 plus. But other people like me and most of the people, we entered into KC maybe at 40 plus or 38 plus or something like that. And when we get into the philosophy, which is very, appealing to us, and he said, why not we enter seriously practice and all. Then we look back, we have a family, we have commitments, we have children, elderly parents. That is one side. Like Gaurachandra Govinda Prabhu has mentioned, is it really possible? Because one side our own family, other side is philosophy, which is very attractive. Another side our financial commitments and our own health conditions. So this is a dilemma. How is it possible? So the basic thing is what time, what age we started into KC. That is one factor. Second thing is, okay, never late, better than, not never, better late than never, right? So anyway, we entered into KC. And again, it is not, it is one man's decision. It's a family decision, especially with wife. So we need to plan, at a particular point of time, what is the life we need to lead? Meaning, do we need to lead a life which is a need-based life or desire-based life? So when that question comes, it is not, again, I'm saying it's a family together. Need-based life, if you're trying to change for a period of time and plan accordingly, there is some leverage we'll get it. Another point is regarding financial planning, because that is very important. Because at the age of 45 or 48, then our kids may be in beginning of the engineering college or medical college, somewhere, or some professional college will be there. Then that financial commitment, if we have a daughter, that marriage commitment. So that financial planning is another important aspect of it. And subsequent to fulfilling this requirement, what do we do for our own retirement life? Because we want to enter into more and more into spiritual path. But that time, this financial should not come into picture. Okay, though I retired at the age of whatever the age, voluntarily or involuntarily, somebody have to go and work as a consultant because to meet the livelihood. So here comes the financial planning. So when we reach the age of 45 or something, if you are also thinking about financial planning, then that also will help us. So yes, Shastra says you retire at the age of 51, which is very difficult when you enter at the age of 35 or something, the KC. So maybe we can extend, like there is a leverage, right? Better late than never. Instead of 51, maybe 58, 59, we can think of this. But for that, the health should permit. So we have to keep health consciousness also. So one is financial planning. Second is need-based life. Third thing is our own health. We have to take care of health. But these three things are going in hand, I think it is possible. I thought I can share this. Thank you.
Thank you for your soothing words, Prabhu. I need more guidance like this.
Hare Krishna, Rukmini and Krishna Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. That was a really wonderful way of summarizing it. Are there any questions from any other devotees? Any reflections? We have a lot of senior devotees. Murali Murari Prabhu is there.
I just like to hear from all of you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I think, Prabhuji, there are, no other questions. Maybe we can end the class here with Vaishnava Pranam. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindho bhyayeva cha patita nama pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव
वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल। Hare Krishna devotees, thank you for your participation, and we'll meet again tomorrow, Krishna willing. I will end the Zoom session. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful session again.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavad Pranams. Thank you.